Okay, hi, welcome to week 46. Better late than never. I've actually been in it for quite a while. I think it's part of the experience being in the space station. You kind of lost in the, what I would say for me feels like an airport terminal or set of terminals, or even yeah, Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam. It's coming to mind. I didn't have it in mind necessarily when I was coming up with a space station, but and I'm finding it in the chart, so it's like I've been navigating my way to this video, getting work done. There's a lot to do in Aries energy. I'm really enjoying it. It's feeling marvelous. But yeah, I would say I've been in it for a while. And I just needed to recover from the backlog of work that was in Leo, in 5th house, and Capricornus, not to mention Taurus and Virgo. So, and the rest of the book. But let's just check this out. What's really sweet, I think, is Mars and Venus are side by side. So what's really sweet, I think, is that Venus and Mars are right beside each other right now. Just in Sagittarius there. Oh, look at that Aquila right there. Swooping down to steal the kids. Yeah. So we've got this. Okay, come on. Come on. Why am I trying to coax it? It's all down to me. So that's, it feels really weird not to have any, I haven't had time to go check out Sagittarius constellation yet ahead of time. And I kind of feel like I shouldn't, that I should wait. But I would say, ooh, okay. Still a trace of, come on, Capricornus energy. So those two stars, we've had the overlap, of course, of Aquarius energy. And I'm going to say, once it's like halfway between those two stars, but we need to almost, there's an aura, I guess we say there's an aura of Aquarius to Capricorn. I mean, that's obviously why it works well to have Saturn and Uranus be co-rulers of Aquarius. But yeah, I'm not going to count it being out of Capricorn till it's in the midpoint between those two stars. That's what I'm going to do. Because it is, I mean, it is in Aquarius, but yeah, and Saturn there. Saturn's been moving. When's the last time we were in, Saturn was in the heart last month of Capricornus. Okay. Mercury kind of in no man's land. Yeah. Somewhere near Pluto. Pluto's in there somewhere. Nothing wants to stay focused, but that's because it's all light. Okay. So, what does it mean to have Mercury in no man's land? Anyway, let's see where we're at. So, entering this space station that we've already been in for a while. I need to say that it's coming up with quite a unique start, and it was delayed, I think, for a very specific reason for me. And I was going to record this about an hour and a half ago, and then I needed to have a really good cry. There's a video I needed to make. I'll just call it up on Facebook. I've been making a ton of videos about things going on up in Canada here. Well, not a ton, not compared to others. But I did find out. Let me see if I can. I'm being totally shadow banned for it on Facebook. I'm rarely on Facebook personally. I'll use it for business, but I'm just trying to get it loaded here. And I don't know why it's I need it to start at the beginning. Okay. I'll just edit. So, because I went and found out that the people running the convoy are connected to bad people. Well, they are bad people. The convoy's not bad. I'm all for the convoy. It got way bigger than these guys could have ever dreamed of, with real protesters, and I would be one of them. If I could be in Ottawa right now, I absolutely would be. But I found out, and this is a rough edit that I published today, just to be clear about a few things. Pat King, good God, if you can't sniff an agent out of Pat King, then who can you know. Anyway, so these two here and here, yeah, I found them on a channel called The Report. And it leads to Kirk's Law Corner, which leads back to Abel Danger and Field McConnell, that I had been subscribed to without realizing it since 2019, back when things went bad for Field McConnell, okay? And I thought, well, it's not good for the legal team for the convoy. Well, there's no way that I was going to trust. You go to the websites for the organizers, and it's all clear as day that it's all Masonic. Or Great White Brotherhood, you know. I don't want to be limiting here. But anyway, so this is my whole history as Hampstead research. I used to be a huge fan of Abel Danger. It was my happy place. Field McConnell was, I thought, the bee's knees. But he did hang out with the wrong crowd over in the UK back in 2015. At the time, I didn't know that they were bad. But then they started to figure largely in my life. The crux of it comes to, this is a thread that I did on Twitter back in 2020 that caused the gas station explosion in Erling, Iowa. David Schurter, my old very close friend David Schurter, who we are since this thread against Doug Mesner, Doug Masico, Lucian Greaves, who has been attacking David. There's a bit of back and forth there, obviously. David is a survivor, victim of sex, well, it's not sex, is it? Rape, trafficking, child is thanks to his family. But anyway, so I have all the evidence going back to 2016 when Doug went after David and Fiona for their involvement on the Hampstead case, the PSYOP of child trafficking accusations out of Hampstead. So the troll team over there, Hoaxstead, I was part of Hampstead Research, which was run by Charlotte. She was set up to do that, and she later, in 2018, she exposed the whole thing. And she and her husband, they're on permanent vacation from the UK. Although Sabine McNeil has just been released after 4 years, my friend Sabine. So I got to figure out what the heck's going on there. I found it out from somebody who has it out for her. She was supposed to be in there for another 5 years for being the whistleblower. But yeah, no, Field went over in 2015 and he was hanging out with the people that were responsible for pushing the Hampstead situation, the PSYOP, out in the open. And, you know, hindsight's 2020. So some people came and interfered with this thread that I did in 2020. To be expected. You always got to expect the guilty to show up. And Jesse and Jody certainly did. Now, Jody was on the phone with Field McConnell when Field made the threat to the lawyers. At least, I think specifically to Kim Picazio. I'm trying to remember. But Jody and Jesse. Now, Jesse sticks as close as possible to Doug Mesner, and I've noticed him not enjoying that too much, but she's got seniority over him. And he can't shake her. He can just ignore her as much as possible. Anyway, she and Jody showed up to shit on my work. Because they're supposed to, because they're part of that. Okay? They're part of Doug's team. And as you've noticed, Doug's team's pretty ugly. So they're connected to Able Danger. And Able Danger, that mirror channel, the report, is running the most personal updates for the legal team. So all in all, we got that sorted. So what I did was I sent it to David. I published it on my page first, and then I wasn't gonna send it to him right away. And then I realized I went to his website just to check on him, to see what's going on, to sort of get a feel for the lay of the land. And hang on a second here. Okay, I think it's his second last. I think he posted in December. This is from November 2021. And who can forget blowing up the gas station? Yeah, that's all thanks to me. And then I was like, well, okay. Then he's never talked about her before, but he makes this Kali reference. CERN is actually a Shiva statue, unless David knows something I don't know. But it's got a slight feminine look to him in the statue. But everybody that I can find, it was a statue donated from India, by India to CERN for their long history together. Sabine McNeil, who is just released from prison, she was a CERN mathematician, and that's how she and I really sort of got along at first. But so he mentions Kali, and he hasn't before, and I knew that was like a cue either not to contact him at all or to embrace. See, he's the person, he's the shaman who basically brought me into being a shaman. He brought me into tarot, he brought me into getting screenshots, he brought me into knowing what was happening when I was journeying. And then we were just bonded through this whole Hampstead process. Like there's a contract, there's something, okay? But anyway, so what I did tonight is I chose to send him the evidence and then do an explanation of things I hadn't known the last time before he blocked me elsewhere. He still hadn't blocked me on Facebook. So, like he came close. He followed me the one night. He followed me back after a few years of separation between us. And then triggered himself into blocking me by following me at the time that I confronted Doug. So I've sent some information in his way a couple of times, but now that I've got that stuff, I knew that I needed to send it to him. So this Aries energy, if we get into the nakshatras, well, even in Aries, you have this death energy and this coming back in, like this exit energy and entrance energy, yes? And even it ties into that Shiva statue at CERN, because they get into Triangulum and Andromeda, and what's the other galaxy? I guess our galaxy. 3 galaxies represented by Shiva and Brahma, and what's the other one? Because Rudra is Shiva. Vishnu. Okay, Vishnu's the maintainer, Brahma's the creator, and Shiva's the destroyer. Now, Shiva, of course, Kali has everything to do with Shiva. But, the protected, Shiva actually correlates to activity that they noted in the galaxies, and Andromeda might possibly eat our galaxy. So they consider Shiva to be protecting us from Andromeda. So there's this ring of fire around Shiva in that statue. So it's all on point. And I do think if we go back to the work that I did a couple of months ago with the Taurus, the Taurus donut, black holes, and figuring that there's this black hole between Pisces and Aries that I think everybody comes in through. So we're returning to that, because Triangulum and Andromeda are right next to Aries. It's I don't know if it's exactly where that, it might be that black hole. I'm not sure it is that black hole. But anyway, so there's this energy of, what I did was I sent everything to David. So this is a huge shamanic moment, because I told him my shaman, like I hadn't known enough of the shaman story from myself the last time I contacted him. I hadn't told him about Kali, and now I could explain it to him, so I chose to do that. And so now he has a very rough start of, like, he won't want that energy. But I have to believe that that was the whole point. And because certainly he's been through so much as a trafficked child. But anyway, I knew that I needed to basically exit the conversation as soon as I sent the information. I'd only left one other message there a few years ago about the court case when Doug was using other people to sue his ass and take everything off of him, and they succeeded. I had messaged him then asking if I couldn't write a letter to the judge, if I wanted to have the money to get down there in person to be with him in court. So this is a very huge magic moment between two shaman. He knows the power I have. He knows that it was underdeveloped at the time that he was close to me. He is not underdeveloped, but he is acting on certain understandings, obviously. He was raised in the cult. He was trained by Michael Aquino. And tortured by Michael Aquino. Amongst many others, but so there will be more magic war between us now, but I'm up for it. I'm game for it. I wish him, because it's all in love from me, and ultimately it will be fine, and it had to be what it had to be. Kali needed me to name her to him, and so to contact him suddenly with this evidence that I didn't know I was going to get, even just like 5 days ago, to contact him, to have this evidence against Doug, and then, and a way, basically, it's nothing, it's not solid evidence, it's by association, but it's another way to go after him and drive him nuts, which I do carefully, you know, so I'll wait for Kali to instruct me on that, but we have this is a huge parting day. This is a huge parting energy and a starting over energy. Of course, nothing is ever truly over, and it has to rebirth. It has to start in the energy of knowing that I work for Kali and saying to him, saying to the shaman who basically brought me into who I am. Yeah, that's how we're starting Aries. And I'm an Aries sun. And Aries Barani is the shaman placement. That's the star. I'm born under Kali's star. So this entering the earth, this entering this life and exiting. So there's this 50-50 energy. And so we're in this space station of what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? And looking at the chart basically as a terminal with different lanes to different gates. Yeah, that's what I see. So let's do the overview and let's get a predictive reading for the month. And there's one thing I need to mention though, but I'll sit down to mention it. Actually, it's just as well to bring stuff up to the camera, I realize. We are... on the 16th, full moon in Leo. See if it's actually in Leo or in Cancer, or split. What's today? Oh God, we're already halfway through, aren't we? It's the 12th. Okay, it's the 12th. I am doing ads right now. I am getting the readings up. I'm not finished. I'm still not finished. The beginning of drawing, but that's because I needed to allow for, I'm on a wild ride though. We are just getting her done. We're in full Mars energy and it's just boom, 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 boom. So I'm not even stressed because I feel the energy and I feel the productivity, and it's just, and she's taken much away from me that would interfere with that. except for fear. Not that I won't succeed, but because there's like the resources are like pretty bare bone at this point. Not that we haven't been there before, and I know exactly that we need to be, but we're in that midpoint of the month where it is good to market. It is good to reach out to people. So I knew that I needed to hit it hard. I knew that I needed to get out of my head and not be caught in the details anymore, which is a wonderful feeling, not to be caught in the details anymore. Sun enters Aquarius. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the 15th. I might push it to the 15th. It seems like it might be another day away, which is interesting because we've got, right away we have a full moon. When's Mercury supposed to hit Capricornus? North Node going retro. It's that okay. I don't even know if that's going to feel significant or not, but keep an eye out for that on the 17th. All right. So yeah, it's been a lot of producing and just getting stuff out there and pissing people off or doing whatever, and actually not being emotionally attached. Like for a little bit, yeah, but actually not letting it influence me or slow me down. Embracing it, bringing on this new energy. Now, question is, I got some catching up to do with filling in the journal, for sure. But what I really needed to do, oh, hang on. Now I'm even screwing myself up here. Let's see if I've got the right, yeah. I realized when finishing up the journal for Leo that I had not finished up. Oh, look at that. That's still blank. Okay. But I hadn't gone and finished this part. This was blank for Capricorn. And so I was like, well, we can't have that because there's a reason why it didn't get finished at the time. And that was because I was working my ass off on that court appeal and being sick with the COVID that the nurse gave me from her household without telling me. And so I was like, no, we got to go back and figure out. Now, this was a huge storm on all levels this week. The theme was, and I had to go back. I go back through the day and I'm like, okay, so what's really coming through? And there were events, yes, but what was the arc? Sometimes there isn't an arc. Sometimes it's about making note of like the individual things. But this one is like, no. We have this huge storm energy, not only in the weather, but in progress, in life, in spirit, in mind, everything. So why? And so I had to go to the end of the week and what came of it. And what came at the end of the week, I woke up to another brilliant protest in Amsterdam. Left a comment. A woman alone in the crowd holding a camera. I think it's a camera. I can't tell for sure. But caught me as an echo of the woman with paintings at the lamppost I was caught seeing myself in 1995. So I was meant to see her today to be reminded. Yeah, I'm certain this is a comment for something else. So what I'll say is, I could get the photo, but I don't think it's gonna make the story that much better. I do have, okay, this is what I photographed in 1995. So what had happened was, I went sleepwalking the night before. This was the first time I'd been somewhere that was different enough from what I'm used to. I was 17 at the time, which is not a baby, but at the same time, I was under a heavy influence from my parents as far as my thought patterns, especially my dad. Lots of conditioning with fear and trauma, partly through no fault of their own, and the fact that my mom was dying of cancer for most of my childhood. But my dad has certain Capricornus, Aquarius, Gemini attributes that were on the negative side because he wasn't knowing what they were, right? And had a bad childhood himself. And so lots of power and not knowing what to do with it and not being happy. He's getting there. But he also has both his heart and his mind. his his Mars and his Mercury is side by side in Sagittarius. So can't differentiate, without a lot of work, can't differentiate the feelings from the thoughts, right? Once we figured that out, that was a huge turning point. He's had lots of turning points. He's a deep thinker. But, so there was a lot for me to snap out of. And what happened was, they disoriented me. My guides disoriented me so strongly with this experience that I did go sleepwalking for the one time in my life. And happily had my card key with me to the dorm room at the hostel, but couldn't figure out how to work it once I came to. So I was doing a lot of hanging out in the hallway at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. But it broke up, yeah, some of the mind control. Just the first parts, right? Like it takes years. But the conditioning, it started to really mess it up. And then there she was the next day. They wanted me to have a new view of something and a view of her so I could see myself. Okay. So there was this storm experience. Yeah. And then came the clarity right up, like something was coming through, and they created a mess in my head so that I would start to become this. Yes. To shake off, to step out of. And so I realized that the photograph of the woman that I saw that morning on that Friday or the Saturday of that week, right? The one, it's this repeat of this woman alone. Like literally there's just this clearing around her in the crowd. She's singled out. And Spirit did that. God did that. Kali did that. So that it would stand out. You know, and then I realized what the storm has been about, because okay, we're freezing outside. Okay, because this is one of my main projects, is Anne of Amsterdam, where it's a book one of my books, one of the 37 books or so that they've got me writing, and this is the one that's going to deal with the interdimensional stuff. Because after this, I went to Prince Edward Island because of Anne of Green Gables, and I planned that from age 14. Planned it. It was in my chart, for God's sake, because I had to go there in order to get pregnant with my son. And there's just a lot of Neptune stuff between me and him. So, absolutely charted. So they kept everything on schedule. So, absolutely, I might just let her finish her screaming. It's kind of exciting, though. Keep tabs on that. But if we don't go back and review, like I would have just left it as exhausting, like, okay, all right. No, I have an idea. I know what was going on. It was a lot that week. Yeah, it was a lot that week. Why? And I wouldn't have known unless I actually went back and pushed myself. So that took me till February to go back and finish up December. But the key was, it was time to do it now. They knew I wouldn't do it till now, right? Because I needed to figure that thing out now, not back then, right? Because I needed to come into that energy now, not sooner. So it's really, I love how not a paragraph is wasted in this experience. There's nothing wasted about any of what's gone into this book. And I love that. That's design working for us. Okay, so this is not the first page. We're dealing with fixing yet another page. So basically, total fuck up with copy editing. But there we go. It'll be all fine the next time. Alright, so yes, I filled all this in. Now, one thing I should do, I went and I did, right? Brought this up last time. Did first house, okay? But I also did 7th house because I remember knowing that I actually had a better sense of self from my 7th house, from understanding my 7th house, than my first house. But now, and I've gone in and done the gaps, and I'll wait until we get into the birth chart week to tackle that with you, because we're just going to get into the predictive reading now. But basically, yeah, more of the same that you're going to do. I'm going to modify the questions to include nakshatras and padas, yes. So I brought that in, and I'm finding it much faster to write the notes and with more meaning, yes. So I'm pulling information together faster and understandings together faster. Just in time to finish the book. I actually ended up, for the promo, I'm running the promo for the book, so I ended up going and printing off the last month of the book, the overlap in Aries, and that got a little emotional because I realized we're coming up to it pretty fast. I am gonna, if I have anybody signing up to go to do this with me the next year, I'm gonna do it anyway. But if I do, then I'm gonna set up a Patreon for $10 a month, where we can sort of settle into the structure of what I'm meaning for this to be. So there won't be so much of me talking all my own way through this. It'll be like, no, I already know, I have a really strong idea of what we're getting into, and just guide everybody and have a discussion, that kind of thing, and do analysis, take questions and answers, that kind of thing. But yeah, so the weather, events. Now for me, this is a big one because it's the season of just after my mom's birthday, but starting basically with Easter and her death, and then into my birthday. But also the murder in between those dates, the murder of my best friend's daughter, Karina, one of my main helpers from the spirit world. Well, spirit world, they're more physical than we are, I believe. Of course, Easter, Passover, but also Beltane, so that means 40 days of child sacrifice and other sacrifices, and just horrific. But you know what? A lot of the calendar year is a sacrifice time. So, I'm not sure that there are too many good times. So now what I did here, see how I've brought in the new chart, but I brought in the wrong version of it. I re-edited it. And I'm torn between bringing this one in or the tarot one, but this one's a little calmer to look at, right? So I need to modify this one to be correct as well. So this is going to change. I got to get that done. And then I'm looking at, see the gaps are different in this one, but I'm looking at these gaps as those, and some of them are really narrow. And what I'm actually going to do, like here, yeah. So in order to be accurate, I'll show you this one. Okay. So what I did, oh God, I'm going to show you anyway. Okay. Because I have my notes about what my bottom lines are for what these nakshatra padas boil down to, right? So I've got a shorthand for that. And then I look at the aspects and I figure out what this little gap is, okay? All of the little gaps. And I look at, because I edited them for this, see how the rose is there in his hand, yeah? And it's lining up. It's even crossing over the 10 swords, that's my south node, right? And I know that basically, and here's where the first house starts as an aura, right? The tropical season, okay? And so I can see that it's starting with the rose, and I know that's, for me, that means Blue Rose Task Force. That means all the Twin Peaks stuff in my life, which plays heavy. All the lodge stuff, but particularly working with murder victims. Because the Blue Rose came into my life in 2018, actually, and then before I ever saw Twin Peaks, just this past summer. That's been documented in this journey. So I look at that and I know that it starts with that kind of energy, that emphasis, right? And now that I know that the lion is heavily Rosicrucian, that we have a projection of the ideal female in the strength card and what identity is. And for me, there's like, I have an alter ego that's masculine for the fiction writing, the sex comedy writing that I do. So as much as that's me and a potential partner, it's also me and myself. This is very important, this position. This points to over here, and I correlate, right? Like what's at the beginning. If I have this overlap here, that's at the end of third house. So I look at other third houses, right? What's happening at the end there? Okay, what's happening at the end there? And I coordinate all of that to get a picture, to get a meaning of what's going on, right? If you can follow me through that. But his lantern is right at this pada of Chitra, which is the forbidden path.